Hey guys, so one of the things that I see a lot, just like on my day to day, is parents thinking that, getting like one hitting lesson will solve all their kids' problems. They think that, they'll just buy one, and what'll end up happening is that instantly the stuff that I teach is going to translate into their swing. And that's just not been my experience. I at one time thought that that was a thing that could be possible before I started doing this, and then I realized that it's just not feasible, and really, it's not even right for me to really accept lessons when someone wants to do just like a one-off. Because what ends up happening is I end up just taking their money, and I don't really provide a service. That's not to say that I don't do the best that I can within that one lesson, but that is to say that within that one lesson, it's not feasible to actually be able to get anything done. Learning hitting is learning a movement, just like learning to walk is learning a movement. So when you're learning to walk, if you just tried it one day, one time, and then you didn't try it again for, you know, like at all, then you'd still be crawling today. So it's important to understand that um, just because I do have knowledge and I can help you out doesn't mean that I can actually accomplish anything in one session. It takes a prolonged amount of time. And this is something that I kind of talked about yesterday. So I don't want to beat a dead horse too much, but I wanted to kind of shed light on the fact that, one lesson isn't really going to do anything for your son or daughter, which is why I usually sell 4 packs. So that said, it's important to understand that this whole thing is a process. It's really like a lifestyle choice, just like, changing, let's say that you weren't really that healthy. If you wanted to really improve your health, and it's not just like, okay, like I'm going to go and I'm going to go to the gym one time. It's a total change in the way that you make your lifestyle. You have to change the way you eat. You have to change your sleeping patterns. You have to change how often you exercise. You have to maybe lift a little bit of weights. Depends on what your health goals are. But really, it's a similar kind of setup where a lot of parents think that things are going to happen right away, and sometimes they do, which I talked about in the video yesterday. But more often than not, what ends up happening is when you do one session, just nothing happens, and the kid just kind of goes back to their old patterns. So if you want this to work, then it can work, but you have to approach it the right way. It's more like rather than like getting your car inspected, it's more of like um, prepping like a race car for a race, rather than just inspecting your car that you drive on the road every single day. So that would kind of be my thoughts regard to that. And I know that a lot of parents, like, the decision that they make to do one lesson versus doing a bunch of lessons is a strictly financial decision. And I totally understand that. I own a business, obviously, so it would be better for me if you came like every week, just from like a financial perspective. But I am aware that my business is a type of business that only allows for people with like disposable income to work with me. So which is why I really tried to come up with like alternative ways to help hitters, because part of like my mission statement, right, is to be able to help as many struggling hitters as I possibly can, because I've kind of been there, and I don't want to leave anyone behind if I can help it. Obviously I need to get paid for my services, but at the end of the day, the most important thing to me is that I'm helping people. So if you were to do in-person lessons, it's $88 per set, or sorry, $80 per session. So if you did that 4 times a month, you're looking at like $320. So it's a little less than that, because if you buy a 4 pack, it's a 10% discount. But if you were to do online lessons, then that's $99 per month, so drastically less. The only thing that's tricky about that, right, is that we don't have that in-person experience. I do have all my drills recorded via video, and I make custom drills all the time. So I have clients as far out as Arizona, Minnesota. I have some up in Vermont. I have them all over the place. A couple in Indiana. So, it's a program that definitely works. Is it like the in-person setup? No. But it's a affordable program that works really well. And then the other thing is that for people that are around my area, like in the Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland area, I offer kind of like a hybrid model where I do online lessons, but I also do in-person lessons once a month. It's kind of just like a check-in and that like in-person thing to make sure that everybody's on the same page. We're communicating in a way that works best. So I do have a couple options, so that way things do become like more smooth. And I think what's awesome about the online lessons is that a lot of parents want to work with their kids anyway. They just don't really know how. So I kind of give them the tools to be able to do that. But that said, I want to help regardless. So, if you're a parent and you're watching this and you're thinking like, oh, this guy's like just trying to sell. Like I understand that. Like I own, like I said before, I own a business. So I don't want you to think that like I'm only trying to sell. I'm happy to look at any video of your son or daughter taking a swing and give you some feedback for free, no issue whatsoever. Just the customized drills and me sending all the drill videos and stuff like that. Those are the things that like I need to get paid for. But I'm happy to look at video, happy to give you feedback, give you a little guidance on what I think your son or daughter should do. But that said, it's important that if this is something that you're gonna do, you've got to commit to doing it for a while or it just won't work. It's just like lifting weights, right? If you just went to the gym and you hired a personal trainer and I'm just going to use bench pressing as an example, but if you were like, okay, well, I lift or I can bench press 135 one time, I'm just making up numbers, and you go in to like your personal trainer and all of a sudden you expect that the one time that you lift weights you're gonna bench, like with your personal trainer, you're gonna bench 225 pounds. Like that's not how it works. Like no one would think that about, you know, um, working out. So no one should think that about hitting either, because it's a lot harder than that to be able to develop the movement mechanics that you need in order to, get the results that you want. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward. But I think this is a good thing to think about in any type of hitting instruction, even if it's not from me. If even if you're like hiring someone who teaches things that are different from me, if you actually want to give that person a chance and you think that person has the potential to help your son or daughter, if you do just one lesson with them, whatever results you're expecting to see, you're not going to see them in that one lesson. And that said, obviously, like if if it's not a good fit with that person, if they don't communicate with your son or daughter well, or if they don't, if they don't communicate well, or they just don't like jive, then like that's a whole nother thing, right? So like I'm not saying that like no matter what you should do a bunch of lessons, but in order to actually see if what they're teaching is going to work, you do have to do more than one lesson. So keep that in mind. You never want to treat it as just like a car inspection, like we talked about. We want to be prepping for the race. So you really want to be making sure that every component is looking the way you want it to. So if you have any questions, my cell phone number is in the description, as well as my email address. So feel free to give that a look. Talk to you soon.